And so, do I know the answer to this? Like, is there a way that I can prove a word doesn't matter? Like a way in which I can't hit like a backup save, or like like a backup window. It's like actually teleports behind you, uh, counterpoint. This is actually isn't true. It's like, in what context? Okay, there's contexts in which words don't matter, but I think what makes this statement so wrong is because it's a generalization, right? I I don't. This is It's a generalization, right? You can't say words don't matter, because there's instances, like, even if you think that's true for the most part, even if it was true for the most part, there's instances where that's just not right, right? I remember this show in Shogun. Yeah, I remember this recent show. It's really good. It's so good, man. That show is so good, bro. It's so good. Shogun, right? Shogun. There's that episode. If you've seen the show, there's that episode where this guy, he doesn't even speak Japanese, right? But he says something in Japanese. He says it so foolishly, right? Like, he tells these people, because he was like a lord of the house and they were like his servants, right? And he tells them, he brings this dead bird. He hangs up this dead bird, at his house, and it's stinking. These dead birds, and it's like, they're stinking. I think it was one bird. Yeah, I think it was one dead bird. It's stinking for everyone. It's like it's bringing karma, bad omens. It's like, like they believe this is like an evil thing. You can't do this. You can't just leave a dead animal hanging, to accumulate flies and foul odor, right? It's like it's ruining everyone's peace. Like, this is not good. Why would you do this? Like, what the hell? Like, the guy was planning to eat it, I think, right? Like, to make some soup out of it. But it's like it's like it's there hanging out at the hanging down his roof. He tells them, don't touch this bird. If you touch my bird, you die, right? If you touch my bird, you die. If you touch this dead rotting carcass that I will make soup out of, you die, right? And so, like, for him, he's joking, right? Or I don't know, like, I don't quite remember what he even meant by it, right? But he was certainly joking, right? So, like, he is joking, but like, these people are wired in such a way that even if he's a freaking foreigner, what they're not gonna die for the guy, but like, because he was given powers were vested in him by the people who put him into that house as a lord, as a lord of the house, that everything he said, the people who serve under him had to do, to the extent that if he said, if you touch this bird, you will die, like, the smelling, rotting bird became so insufferable to the point that someone had to sacrifice themselves to take away the bird, but then they had to kill themselves in the end, because the guy did say this was the rule. It's like, like, from their point of view, it's like you would think, what kind of person would do that? Like, what kind of straight reasoning person would end their life because someone else said, if you touch this bird, you die? It's like, what kind of well-meaning person, what kind of sound reasoning person would think that? And of course, you would have to be insane, right? But maybe not. Maybe you would have to. It's like, it's either you're insane or you live in such a society where words mean so. Words are life and death, right? And again, maybe you could say those people are insane, but I don't think it's ever that simple. I don't think it's ever that simple. You would only have to put it in a context in which you would understand. You would only have to put it in a context in which, say that, there's someone that you love, and you say something like, right, I will die I will give you my life. It's like, if there ever comes a situation where I must die for you, that will be the case, right? That will be so. And maybe someone else may think you're ridiculous, may think you're ridiculous for dying for another person. It's like, this is illogical. This is not scientific. This is like against natural selection? Why are you being so foolish, dying for another person, right? What happened to self-preservation, right? It's like there's a context in which you can understand it. But yeah, I was just about to say I lost my train of thought, but no, this is quite, yeah, I remember. I'm trying to prove in what way does a word not matter? In what way does a word not? Okay, well, yeah, this is not a. In what way does a word not matter? Yes, like I don't deny I don't deny there there's context in which okay, here's one. A word may not matter if for instance someone speaks it but you don't understand the language, right? You don't understand what the hell did they just say. Are they speaking Arabic? Are they speaking Chinese? What the hell did you just say? Cantonese, right? Like what the hell are you talking about? Like that's not a word. That's not a word my brain recognizes. That might as well be rubbish, right? What the hell, right? What do you mean? What do you mean by that, right? So, okay, there's a way in which a word doesn't matter, but I don't think when someone says they do not believe words matter, I don't think they mean it in that way. I think it's very baffling to me. I don't understand how one can actually really say that. Like, do you mean words don't matter? Period. Oh man, I just said period. I'm killing myself. Uh, yeah, like, what do you mean words don't matter? I don't understand. Like, I'm trying to prove something. It seems to me like, okay, well, it's not impossible, right? I want to avoid generalizations, but like, it seems nearly impossible for me. Perhaps it is impossible for me to even to understand how can one how can a well-meaning person, like a reasonable sound-minded person, like an actually intelligent person, how can they say such a thing as words don't matter? What is the reasoning behind that? Like, I don't. It's like it's evident that there's something I don't understand here, right? There's something I don't understand here. How is it ever so? How is it definitively so that words don't matter? What, right? It's like all I can think of is examples in which they do, and the examples which they don't are very they're very circumstantial, right? Like, okay, it's like, okay, oh, so all right, yeah, in this context I don't know what the hell you're saying. You just spoke a different language, so that word doesn't matter to me. Or I've never heard of this word, you just made up this new word. Okay, all right, okay, how about words don't matter, but it is that it is the people who use words that give them meaning, right? Yeah, okay, so like in that way words don't matter. It's like, okay, yeah, I believe it's like, yeah, words are simply things that we use to get our points across, to communicate. Words are are a means of communication. They don't matter, they're just a means of communication. But like do you like, as you can see, that's a contradiction, right? It's like, how can you say a word doesn't matter? Words don't matter if they are a means of communication. How can you say that, right? It's like you can't. Well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. It's like, I can agree that words are inherently as empty as the universe was when it first formed, right? Like, as meaningless as much of everything was in the universe before it was given a name, right? Like an apple and the word apple meant nothing until you subscribed it to a certain fruit that was red, right? And so on and so forth. Lion doesn't mean anything, but it's like a newborn baby. It's like, what's your name? You don't have a name. Well, I'll name you Lion. There you go. Your name is Lion, right? It's like, of course, lion can mean very, very many things. It's like, maybe there's a world in which lion isn't actually the name of an actual animal. Lion is like the name of, maybe it's like, there's a world where lion is actually not, it means something entirely different. That's an irrelevant sidetrack, but it's like words. What makes sense to me is that a word will mean anything that we want it to mean, right? It's like a word is empty, but for as long as we have need for words, it's like the only way you can say a word doesn't matter is if you choose, is if you decide that it doesn't. But it's like, of course, if you decide a word doesn't matter, someone else may say that it does, right? So I really can't think of an example. I can't think of a single. I can't think of a single concrete